I did not open one sefer the entire time I was there. I literally had no cheshik for anything. And it was definitely a hard time, a dark time, and there were times where like I just wanted to give up. But I think the thing that held me through this the most was the fact that I knew that it was going to end at some point.
Welcome back to another episode of Inspiration for the Nation, and I need to give all of you a thank you. We just surpassed 165,000 subscribers on YouTube. We are the fastest growing Orthodox YouTube channel of the biggest. I mean, top 2, top 3 already at this point, which I'm blown away by. So thank all of you who are subscribing, watching, and sharing. This week's episode is very special. It is a dear friend of mine, Yehuda Neuman, who physically has had a tremendous challenge, or I should say challenges, his entire life. You're going to hear about him. And I asked him all the questions that have been on my mind, that have been on your mind if you've ever seen him. And kudos to him for just being so transparent and honest. And he's definitely someone who's not in the limelight too much. I mean, I'm saying that while he was just in the Moment Hasidic magazine and he just came on the show. But you'll hear so much more about him. This episode is in memory of Shimon David ben Yaakov Shleima, as well as Miriam Sarah Bas Yaakov Moshe. And you will hear about Sparks of a Nation. If you haven't heard about them yet, stick around to the very end. I have a very special message for all of you. I'm Yaakov Langer, and you're listening to Inspiration for the Nation. This is a real treat for me because typically I interview people that I don't know who they are. It's usually like world famous people. People are like, you don't know Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky? I'm like, I don't really know yet. And then I get to interview them, not him, obviously. But you are a friend how long do I know you for?
Since the Camp Simcha days.
Yeah.
I remember you weren't my division head.
No, it was not your division head. It was Mayor Commonson, right?
Mayor Commonson. But we hung out a lot.
Yeah, we did. And you were my second cousin, Chaim Grimberg.
Yes, he was my counselor. Yeah, for 3 years.
Yeah, we had a fun time. You came like towards my end of my Camp Simcha days. Like your first introduction to me, I was a division head already, right?
Right. I actually came to Camp Simcha toward the end of the years I was able to go there. I only came when I was 17, 18. I went way before that when I was much younger.
You did?
Yeah, I took a break.
Really?
I took a massive
break.
I'm
like, here I am. I'm like, I'm a guy. I've been.
No, I wasn't one of these long time Camp Simcha members.
You went how young were you when you went?
I was probably 6, 7, 8.
Like really young.
Yeah, and then I took a break. And I decided to go back in the end, 17, 18.
When you were 6, 7, did you chop like something was up with your life, that you're like in the most fun camp of the world and like there's clearly...
So I definitely chopped, but I wasn't able to, let's say, process it or appreciate it properly. And that's why I went back later as a teenager in my later years and, got that full experience again. And it definitely changed my life at that point.
Yeah.
The friends I have. But bottom line is, we had some good times in camp.
Yeah, Camp Simcha was...
It was just a different level of fun over there.
Yeah, it is. I don't even remember what it was. I remember you were in like one of the videos. They do a lot of videos there. I don't remember what it was, but like there's something with like a boat and there's a bunch of guys on the boat having fun.
Yeah,
and you like pop out of like we did the drinks in there.
We did some crazy stuff there.
But you know what I appreciate about that like stunt, and I think it's something that you've been pretty good with as long as I know you, is that like you make jokes about your situation, like
100%. That's the only way to roll with it and live with it. I mean, you can't degrade yourself. You have to keep a certain level of respect and dignity. But of course, you can make jokes, and people appreciate it because it shows people that you're comfortable with yourself and you're not afraid of who you are and you accept yourself. And that type of humor really gets to people and people appreciate it.
Yeah, I think there's something like authentic and honest about it.
Right.
That you just, like I always make jokes that I'm like, the coolest person ever. So, people, I'm making a joke there. So let's go back to the beginning. Okay. At what, like first, let's be even before you were born. Like, did your parents know before that you, and also, let's start even before that. I want to be like PC over here. Like what do you define your condition?
So I have dwarfism. The official terminology is called spondyloepiphyseal dysplasia. I'll give anybody $100 if they could write and spell that.
I'm like, let's call it dwarfism.
It's called, the nickname for it is SCD, and it's a common form of dwarfism. All it really means is that there's a deformity in the bone. The limbs are shorter, and I'm missing like some cartilage, for an example. I do have a little bit of a hearing loss. I have a high prescription with glasses. I can barely see.
You have a high prescription of glasses?
Yeah, like very high.
Not fun fact about me. I have a really high prescription.
Yeah, I literally spend like $600
I'm
on
wearing
a pair of
lenses now.
sunglasses.
I'm so annoyed that we can't switch glasses because I have. Because I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the air. My glasses are, or my lenses for my glasses are negative 9.5.
I think I'm like 12, negative 12.
Really? Shoot. I barely ever, I've met people. Man, you beat me.
I don't know. I was literally wearing glasses from like when I was 1.5, 2.
Oh, you're like one of those babies that were like
Yeah.
wearing those. They're very cute. They're very cute.
They didn't have cool glasses back then.
Okay, back then.
But let's just say the cute glasses beat the cool glasses today. Like the cute ones were
interesting.
Yeah, they were way better than what there is.
Okay,
today.
so officially you have dwarfism. I'm not even gonna attempt to say the other thing that you said.
And it also came along with I had club feet, so when I was born, my feet were like literally curved like a circle. And
you couldn't walk essentially?
No, I couldn't walk. And another thing I had was I had a cleft palate, which is a hole in the roof of the mouth. And that actually got fixed later on, like when I was like a year and a half, and it was like a whole plastic surgery situation. But that's fixed. But all in all, it's just an orthopedic deformity, the form of dwarfism I have. There's nothing else wrong. There's nothing that will, stop anybody from living a full life. And the truth is, that's really where my story starts from, because in one of the earlier sonograms, they found out that my limbs were shorter, and my parents were the same age as I am right now. And, finding out now your child might have something is just like the world fell apart. And somebody mentioned to my father, go to the square Rebbe, get a bracha, and see what he has to say, etc. So my father goes.
Well then, just to clarify, your parents are, how tall are they?
Everybody in my family is 100% regular. This is just a total
random.
There's nothing could have stopped it, and that's it. So my father went to Square Rebbe, and the Rebbe was giving chizuk to my father, and the Rebbe only had one question. He's like, "How is the head and the heart?" And my father said that the head and the heart is perfectly normal. There's nothing wrong with it. Obviously, just you gotta be cautious and check everything, but everything seems fine. The Rebbe gave a bracha, don't worry, it'll be a Talmud Chacham, a couple of mountain typing, everything, and that was it. I was born, and after I was born, I was in the NICU for quite a few weeks, and I had my bris weight, but I came home from the hospital with a feeding tube, and my feet were still like curved, so they broke out the bones and put them in a cast to make them straight for the time being. But up until when I was about 2 years old, I really looked like every other baby. I didn't look different, other than I had a nasal feeding tube and I was in cast, but there was nothing different. But most of the medical related procedures that I had as a child were all just orthopedic surgeries. I also had tubes in my ears and then the cleft palate, like I mentioned before, but those were really just the main, I guess, medical challenges that came along with dwarfism that I have, and that had to be maintained and fixed in order to get me, walking and mobile and everything. So I did start walking maybe like when I was about, for real, like 3 or 4 years old, but there was after that, obviously I was walking funny and my feet weren't still like straight, and I would always have to have surgeries to continuously keep them straight. But that was just basically it.
Mm-hmm. At what point was it like obvious to you against other children that you were just shorter than everyone else?
I mean, that kind of came on later on in life. I went to a regular elementary school. I went to Yeshiva Katana of Queens. I'm from Queens. Didn't mention that yet.
Yeah, sure.
Grand Hills. And I mean, my younger years, everybody's running around the yard. I ran around the yard too, just like everybody else. Um, I mean, there was no like defining moment where I said, "Oh, okay, something's not right." But I just kind of, adapted into it and just learned to be comfortable in my own skin, and that came with this fair share of challenges throughout my life as well. But no, there was no like defining moment of like when I noticed that okay, I'm shorter than everybody else.
Were you ever like bullied by other kids, or the opposite? Were people nicer to you because you were different?
So I would say there was a good mix. I wasn't
Really? I don't know. I just asked it because like I asked it, but like I'm a little surprised, honestly.
right. I mean, of course, there were kids that were nicer or like quote unquote more sensitive, but like people already knew that I didn't want to be treated any differently. As far as being bullied, I wasn't bullied, but I was definitely a more sensitive person. And, I was more shy. I was more like, not that I didn't want to be seen, but
Do you think
like,
it's because of your medical condition or just by nature? You're just like more introverted.
I think it came along with just everything, just how I socially grew and adapted to myself. And, so like, I wasn't bullied, but like, because I was, more sensitive, it would be easier for my feelings to get hurt. It would be easier for me to get picked on. Not for being short, for sure, but just like in general. Like I remember like a lot in prominently in elementary school and high school. Like everybody loved sports. I hated sports with a passion. Like I have no problem going to a game with my friends and having a great time. But like, knowing the stats, being into, like even just like, having games, this, that, I couldn't stand it. And like, a normal, let's say a kid in 4th grade will look at it like, you're crazy. Well, how do you not like sports? But like those are just like one of, many examples where like I was in my own little world, as they say.
I hear that. Okay, so let's continue on with like your journey. So, I mean, how many surgeries have you had since you were born?
So I don't have an exact number, but if I had to give a estimate, it would probably be around 50.
Wow.
Yeah.
50 surgeries.
Yeah.
That's a
definitely no easy feat, but Hashem, I made it through all of them, and some were more challenging than others. Some were literally like 10-minute surgeries.
Didn't you get like, I don't say stuck, but were you stuck in West Palm Beach for a long time?
Yeah, that was actually the last batch of surgeries I had. I had it when I was like 18, 19. Basically, let me just backtrack a little bit. Because I essentially grew, over the years. My body just developed and grew, and I constantly needed surgery to correct the limb, just the legs, just to make sure they're straight. I was able to walk comfortably, this and that. By the time I was 13, 14, the doctor I was seeing then, his name is Dr. Alfred Grant, recommended we pause right now because, your body's going to change as a teenager over the next few years. And there's just no point. And at that time, I was walking fine. 4 years later, I'm in a lot of pain. My feet are not good at all. And Dr. Grant then had passed. And I went to a new doctor. Happened to be he was still in New York, Dr. David Feldman. And he moved to Florida then. So he basically said, if you want to do it right, you got to come relocate to Florida. And they have a whole rehab center over there. It's a phenomenal place what they have down there, called the Paley Institute. A lot of from Jews actually go there. And I think it was like 3 or 4 surgeries total over the span of like 2 years. But I was only like living in West Palm for about 6 months. But that was a whole kufa in itself. And
like 6 months, meaning this is during the school year?
6 months in the summer and right after the summer.
How old were you at that?
I was 18, I believe. I think 18.
And
how many 17.
How many people do you know in West Palm?
Oh, I know absolutely nobody. I was there. So my parents came down, and my sister stayed by friends locally because she was still in the middle of her school year. And Baksha, my father's job, his boss let him relocate. But I was literally by myself there.
Mentally, how is that? Like, first of all, obviously physically, I'm sure the recovery is not easy. But then just relocating completely to a nice place, but it's very hot, a lot of old people, and it's not like for a month, it's like great, it's a vacation, you chill there for 6 months, half a year.
Right. I mean, first of all, West Palm is not Miami Beach.
Right.
No restaurant there is totally in a different world. But it's actually funny you mentioned this because we went to this Rebbe beforehand, and the Rebbe looked at my father like, does Yehuda know what he's going to go through now? And my father was like, yeah, of course he does. And I remember before the surgeries, I was at the height of my learning. And like I was learning good, I was learning well. It was right after first year Beis Medrash, and I took a whole box of Sharm with me. I did not open one safer the entire time I was there. I literally had no cheshik for anything. And it was definitely a hard time, a dark time, and there were times where like I just wanted to give up. But I think the thing that held me through this the most was the fact that I knew that it was gonna end at some point. And I actually never knew when it was gonna end because, like so many appointments, I would go to the doctor. I would go like every week, and I would say, "Okay, next week you're good. You could go home." And like I heard that so many times, and like I didn't go home. But since I knew that it was gonna be over at some point, that's what carried me through.
That's interesting.
I was able to get through it. But it was hard for me. It was definitely hard for my parents. It was definitely hard for my sister who, we literally left her here in New York and she was going from friend to friend. But I also had friends that carried me through. They visited me and I was in touch with them every day, but it was hard.
Yeah, it's a hard, I mean, I think any age to just relocate and be in a different place is hard for somewhat unknown amount of time. But I think at the age of whatever it is, 17, 18, at least for me, I know that age is like, I was very, you say like you had a great, year of learning and studying in yeshiva. It's a time where people are you're developing and you have a lot more energy to find who you are in life. And then you have to just be sort of like in jail a little.
Right. So I actually remember before I went to my Rebbe and I told my Rebbe, I said, when am I going to go for yeshiva after when I come back? What am I going to do? And my Rebbe literally shut the conversation down. He's like, right now, your tekufa is to go have these surgeries and get better. Don't worry about anything else. Now's not the time to sit and worry where you're going to go next month. What are you going to do? Who you learning with from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock? Now's not the time.
It's such a good lesson because there's so many times in life where like everything's going wrong. And then it's like, wait. What's your job right now? Like at the end of the day, you have 17 jobs, but there's the one thing that's in front of you.
Right.
And that's ultimately, okay, you're right. The other things are maybe seeming like they're falling to the side, but you can't handle everything. You got to just focus for the main thing that's in front of you.
And it actually taught me like a lot. And all these lessons I still carry with me today throughout my life. And yeah, so like that really hit me, that whole concept of understanding and knowing what your tekufa is. And your tekufa could change from today till tomorrow. Not every day is the same tekufa. But you have to be present and act upon that tekufa every day.
From my experience in Camp Simcha, unfortunately, you have so many times where people maybe don't look the same as everyone else. And often people who don't know them assume that mentally they're not all there. Does that happen to you? And what do you think about if that does?
Right, so it does happen, but I don't blame them, and I totally understand that, why they might think that way, that, somebody, obviously looks physically handicapped, so something else is wrong, but usually within 0.001 seconds of talking to me, they realize that by me it's not the case. And I just give people their time and space to learn, and that's all what I'm about as well. Like I love educating people about my situation, and that people shouldn't think necessarily just because somebody has a physical challenge that they have a mental challenge as well.
How many? And you may not know this answer, but how many others have dwarfism that are from Jews?
I would say maybe around 30.
30?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that is a very small. Like, do you guys have like a WhatsApp group or something? Do you know them?
I think now there is. I know my mother's part of one.
Well, your mother's. Wait a second. She's not allowed to be on there.
Yeah, the truth is, the
Yeah.
reason why, like, we don't all know each other so much because it became I don't know if it became a little more common. It became more like, people are reaching out for help, etc. And, she, on the chat to, help people, advise people, give people chizuk. And, but we, amongst ourselves, we don't really know much of each other because, we're all different ages, spread across the country, even in Israel. And
yeah, you're completely. You happen to have something in common, but everything else is like probably completely different
Right.
about all of you.
But everybody literally, like no two are the same. Everybody's in their from what I know of whoever's out there, everybody's like totally different. In terms of from type, background, where they're from, like age, literally everything.
Interesting. Okay, fine. So as of now, as of this recording, how old are you?
So I am 26 years old.
Okay, fine. So let's talk about shidduchim.
Yes.
How long have you been in shidduchim, and how has that process been for you?
I don't really know when I officially started, but I've been out a couple of times in the last few years. So I think there's two components to, shidduchim and the challenges that I faced. The first challenge is the emunah and bitachon. I'd be lying if I said I woke up every morning and said everything's fine, everything's perfect, yeah, and that's it. But like, that's not the reality. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort, and obviously Hashem put me in this position for a reason, and I'm taking this opportunity and I'm utilizing it to become closer to Hashem, and it's just like it's a journey that I have to take, and wherever it goes, and
you have no choice in it.
It's not that I just don't have a choice. I'm letting Hashem hold my hand and take me on this journey. Wherever I go, it's up to Him.
Like you're in the passenger seat and Hashem's driving, and you're like, hey, I'm sure He's taking me somewhere good.
Right. I mean, everybody knows this. When it comes to shtatos, you could do a shtato for, parnasa, this, that. But when it comes to shidduchim, you can't do anything. There's absolutely nothing you can do. And I learned that. And it's just something that, it's really amazing.
I think shidduchim is always, not always, it could always be difficult for someone because someone's very vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there. You're trying to find your match, the right one. They're trying to find the right one for them. There's a lot of emotions there. There's also, I think, being from the frum world, I think you tell me if I'm wrong here, like we're brought up at, we go to all boys yeshiva and don't talk to girls. You're not allowed to talk to girls. And then the second when you're like of marital age, they're like, no, talk to a girl, get married. And it's like, it's challenging. So it's already challenging, I think, is she the right one? I don't know. But then on top of it, the fact that with your physical disability, I can imagine that just adds in a whole nother layer of just challenges.
Right. So there's definitely like a whole world of challenges. So, I mean, in our shidduch system, in the film community, if let's say my resume gets passed around or people hear about me, the first thing that people assume and think, okay, there's a physical disability, which I understand. I get that. And then there's the second layer of like, okay, let's see who else has a physical challenge that we could pair this person up with. But I know for myself, I always tell Shadchanim, I said I want two things, something that makes sense. Just in terms of hashkafa, this, that, like something that actually makes sense. And then on top of that, because I lead and live a fully independent lifestyle, I want the same thing. And, a lot of shadchanim sometimes will, just literally say, boy, girl, disability, boom, it's the best idea in the world. When really it's a no shaykhus idea, and it doesn't make sense. Because, people in my position just want to be treated regular. And we want to just, get ideas that make sense, we want to be given ideas that make sense because, for our shkafa or for our lifestyle or our background, not because of what makes sense for our disability.
Right. You want to be seen as the human, the person you are, not by the disability that you
Right.
have.
But like, even when it comes to disability, I know people who are married and, you know, both spouses have a disability and they complement each other very well. I'm not saying it can't work. Of course it could work. But at the end of the day, it really has to make sense. And it's definitely hard to get that perfect picture, and nobody's perfect either. But the least we can do is we can try.
We'll be right back to this week's episode, but really quickly, I want to tell you about one of my favorite WhatsApp statuses, Sparks of a Nation. To be clear, I have nothing to do with them. I know Nation, maybe we're cousins spiritually, but they basically are a WhatsApp group, WhatsApp status that day after day, moment after moment, captured the most beautiful, brilliant moments of Yiddishkeit and put it out there, whether it's a gadol or someone that you don't know, or a beautiful organization that went and cheered up sick children, whatever it is, they're finding those moments and capturing it and giving it to you. It's a WhatsApp group, it's a WhatsApp status, and I highly recommend you go and check them out. You could go in the show notes, tap the link, and get invited to the group, or you could give them a call don't give them a call, but you could text them at 323-792-0613. Haha, I like what you're doing, Sparks of a Nation. Happy to be associated with you guys. And now, back to this week's episode. You remind me when you said that two people have disabilities. I interviewed someone, Chava Willig-Levy, which I don't know if you saw that episode. But she was someone who, she sadly passed away suddenly, at least to me suddenly. But she had polio and she was wheelchair bound and really couldn't move, could barely move. And her husband was blind. And I saw them interacting in the house, and it was, I think every marriage is made up of two people that each have some form of something in their life that they're missing. When you said like two people with disabilities, like, okay, it's very on the surface. Two people could really see that. But the reality of every marriage is really you're two very different people, very different backgrounds, very different worlds, very different minds. And you're each trying to give to the other one something that they don't have. So I saw in that marriage, I'm like, and I just got a little glance of them interacting, and it was so beautiful to see that in a marriage. And I think what you're describing now, it makes sense for everyone and anyone. But the point is that, at least the way you just said it with the disability, like we're supposed to help each other, not just both be, oh, you have a disability, you have a disability. Therefore, like, no. The point is to complement.
Right. And I mean, you know, there are a lot of shadchanim that deal with this, and they really do an amazing job. And they also understand that it's difficult for, you know, people like me and others just to like get what they want, or, you know, because at the end of the day, yeah, we don't know what we're going to end up with, but we want to just be treated just like everybody else. We want to be given that chance just to say, you know what, this is what I'm looking for. You know, forget disability, forget this. I'm looking for a girl with this, that. People just want to be given that chance to be read shidduchim like a normal person.
That's very fair. Okay, so something I want to hock you up about is I know you for a long time, but something that's, I think that most people know you is that you're very involved in the music scene. I whether it's like being like boys with Yaakov Shweki, shout out to Special Children's Center, because I always see you like by the concerts and getting involved and helping out, you and Baruch. And others, I'm sure forgetting others. But tell me about that, like your connection to music, and I guess also your connection to Shweki, right? You guys did a song together? Okay.
Yeah, so truth is, my connection to music goes like way back. Not like earlier, and I was saying that like I never liked sports in school, this, that. For some reason, I always connected to music, and even from like when I was young, like I was thinking of melodies in my head or just like tuned words, this, that. And I think I wrote my first song when I was like in 5th grade, maybe, whatever, like 10 years old or something like that. And I just kept on doing that. And I have for some reason, and it might sound weird, but I can't pinpoint to what it is. But when I listen to music, especially the stuff I like, I just feel like I'm in, you know, a safe space. I'm in a comfortable zone. I could just relax and be myself. And so I took these talents in music professionally. I'll get to the song in a minute,
Sure.
But I do today. I manage a couple of artists, a couple of bands. I work with them. People who know the Energy Band, I work a lot with them. And I also do just post production for a lot of bands, etc. I do like literally a lot of stuff. But so the truth is, I'll go on Shwaki in a minute. But it's funny you say that because in 2019, as you just mentioned, my friend Baruch now, which gives me a call. He's like, "What are you doing this summer?" I said, "I'm just chilling. I'm doing my thing." Like, "Do you want to come to Israel with the Special Children's Center?" I'm like, "Okay, I never really heard of them, but why not? I found out my friends are going, so let's go. We'll have a good time." Needless to say, that was a major turning point in my life. I met a bunch of people who really showed me what I'm capable of in terms of what I have to give and offer to the world. Janine Shweki, Rachel Bender, Yaakov Shweki, it's just so many people. And we have like our whole chavra that we stick together. We often hang out and
Yeah, I see it on like your statuses and like Instagram stories, like you, Yaakov Shraki, Baruch, the Chevra, like just
there's a whole pack over there. We literally traveled the world together.
What was so significant about the trip for you?
So it was more, I think it was just like I had just finished college at that point, and because I was in college, so for literally 3 years, like my head was in textbooks. Like I never had the chance to like, just settle down and breathe. And that was the point where I realized, and I started meeting people my age in the frum community with other physical challenges. So the fact that they took us all on a trip together, it just like showed me, what I really am about. And so Yaakov and I connected well together on music, and so I wrote the song Fighter along with another guy that was on the trip. His name is Irving Carey. And so I wrote most of the song, and like I had a lot of the inspiration that came from my whole Florida situation. And in the beginning, like when we would hang out, like all of our friends, when we would barbecues or pool party, this, that, we sang it. Every show we kept on singing it. And it grew. Like, it's literally everybody like, play that song Fighter. We love it a lot. We love it a lot. Till finally Yaakov said, "You know what? We're going to record it." And we dedicated it to the Special Children's Center because, it's just simply about struggles. And if you look at the lyrics, they're very plain lyrics. They're nothing fancy, no high vocabulary, no deep concepts. It's literally the simple message of fighting a life that's worth fighting for. And it took off really well. A lot of people got chizuk from it. Actually, Yaakov called me like one time after the song came out. Like somebody called me and literally told me somebody just kept Shabbos now because they heard the song.
Really?
And so many. I heard so many stories. People sending me messages still. But listen, I really thank them, and they know that it was something that I'm proud of sharing that message with the world.
What do you want the world to know about you, or just the challenges that you go through that they maybe don't know now?
I mean, it's really like, people think that when they see somebody with a physical challenge, walking in the street, they think nebuch. Nebuch is a word when you hear of a tragedy. There's nothing tragic about my life. There's nothing tragic about somebody who's in a wheelchair. Nothing tragic about that. If anything, you should say ashrecha. And we're just regular, normal people. I drive a car. I have a full-time job. There's no tricks. There's no life hacks. There's really no secrets. And I just want people to know and understand that. And I think that's what the beauty of my life is, and that's what the inspiration that people carry is. It's just the fact that they see somebody who they might think that has a challenge or is limited, but really they're just living it up and living life to the fullest, just like anybody else.
It's so like ironic because I don't know, maybe this is like, I'm like saying deep titles over here, but like your very message, you're clearly on because like you have, challenges, meaning to me, you're like an average, regular, typical guy who's like, okay, yeah, you're looking for a shidduch, that's a challenge. But obviously at the same time, you have a physical challenge that you're, shorter than typical. But your message is, though, even though that's the case, I'm 100% average and normal. Like, don't be inspired. Like, it's a catch-22. Like, don't be inspired by me, even though there's a, you know what I mean? Like, but that's probably with everything that's like inspiration, that Hashem just, everything is inspiring technically, if you think about it. Everything, that life, breathing, I don't know if what I'm saying, like I'm losing you or I'm losing the audience here.
I mean, no, it really does make sense, and I'll tell you why. Like, even after the song came out, like, you know, my father would always tell me, like, you have to understand, you give chizuk to people. And it took me a very long time to, like, accept that and really internalize it, and I still am. Because I'm the type of person, like, when I'm walking on the street, I'm the type of guy, like, you know, leave me alone.
Right,
you know?
Don't look at me, just do your own thing.
Don't look at me, do your own thing, you know? I don't need the attention. But, now it's going to sound yeshivish, but, like, hagufa, that is the inspiration that which people take. And I get it a lot from my parents, my sister, my friends. And, like, you know, people might think, like, my house, like, you know, my parents treat me differently. My sister, who's regular height, you know, she's gonna treat me differently. There's nothing different about me and my lifestyle and the way I was raised. And therefore, I was never even put in that position to think otherwise. And because of that, that's how I became the person who I am today.
It's such a good message, because I think it's, you know, I think as children, when you're first like learning colors, right? Like you identify, or like little kids put everything in their mouth. Like they don't use their head to discern what's what. It's just the reality. Like that's blue, that's red. And the same way how what you're saying now is like whether someone is the height that they, how tall are you, by the way?
I think officially 3'4".
3'4". Okay, we'll say 3'6". So like officially, you know, there's not officially, I mean, like on the surface, yeah, there's a difference, but like officially, like there's no difference whether you're taller, shorter, black, white. Like there's makes no. It's like such a basic, unnecessary, real difference in who a person is, who their neshama is. Like has nothing to do with that. Yeah, okay. The reality is you're driving a car that's specific for you. Okay, fine. And therefore what? Like there's not much.
I still get to work every day.
Yeah, exactly.
One way or another. But yeah, that's really it. And I just think that if people, you know, like, you know, next time you see somebody on the street that's in a wheelchair, next time you see, you know, even me, let's say, in the street, you know, don't assume the worst. Don't go, oh, I feel bad. There's nothing to feel bad for. And, you know, Baruch Hashem, I'm literally living it up to the fullest. You know, I've traveled the world. Let's just give you an example. Like, I love aviation. I flew an airplane.
Really?
I went to I stood on top of the Grand Canyon. I've been to Israel so many times. Like, I'm not missing out on anything in my life. Even more so, I could do all 613 mitzvahs in the Torah. And because of that, I thank Hashem every day that I'm able to do that, and I'm in that position to do so. And on top of that, I understand that there are people with physical challenges that are not necessarily in the same position as me, and they might have it worse than I do. And, you know, that's something which I still am thankful for, that Hashem made me the way who I am. I would never trade it for anything else in the world. I think that the fact that I've been in this perspective my entire life, and I honestly don't know what the future holds, but being in this perspective gives me a whole new and different appreciation for life.
That's really beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the fun questions that I ask at the end. First off, if there's one person from history that you could sit down with, or someone who's from recent history that's no longer alive, they could sit down for an hour with, hack them up, talk to them, who would it be?
I mean, I don't have one person. I mean, the last 6 years of my life, I lost my grandparents and my uncle. And these were people who were like my biggest fans. They supported me, you know, from the very beginning. And they were literally, you know, the rock stars in my life. And I still think about them every day, and I miss them dearly. And I would treasure another second with them any day of the week.
That's really beautiful. Okay, so you mentioned the 613 mitzvahs. And I don't know if you did every single one yet. Mir Tashem, we'll get there. Well, honestly, we can't even do so many of them. Like Kakanim have like half of them. But out of the 613 that you could do, which one is one that you hold a little closer to your heart?
I would have to say giving tzedakah. I mean,
Gvir over here.
listen, not a Gvir alert. Kosher money might not be too happy, but because, like, listen, I'm still single. You know, I pay my bills, but I love giving tzedakah. There's nothing that makes me.
Who do you like giving
happier.
to? This is an easy place to plug.
I mean,
Or what kind of situations do you like giving to?
I mean, there's usually and thank God for raise and charity, this, that, it's literally you.
No, I don't mean the platforms. I'm saying which organization.
You could get stuck in your sleep. I give to anybody that asks, and I also, because I'm in the music industry, a lot of people privately raise funds for college, this, that. I do what I can to give for that, but I feel so good giving tzedakah because I've been in the position on the other end where, not necessarily tzedakah, but like I understand what it means to do chesed. And, just to give you an example, my father is a paramedic. He's on Queen Soul for 20 years. And I grew up literally with the radio next to my ear. So, yeah, do I wish I could take that radio and go and take a call? 100%. But I'm in a different position where I could fulfill a similar mitzvah by giving tzedakah. So, I learned, you don't have to be fixing tires and going on Shimon and Hazal, this and that. You can do your mitzvahs and feel just as good by giving tzedakah. And I just connect to tzedakah so much. I love it.
That's very nice. That's such a good I feel like Hatzalah should take that snippet of okay, the Hatzalah members are doing their job, but you could also contribute to Hatzalah by actually giving towards Hatzalah or whatever organization it is.
Right.
That's a good point. So I want to finish off with one question that I'm going to make up on the spot because I don't have it yet. You know what it is? I typically ask people for a story.
Right.
And we spoke before and you're like, I don't have stories.
No, I don't. I did a interview for a Hasidic magazine recently. The guy kept asking me, you have any inspiring stories? I'm like, no. I mean, I woke up this morning. That inspiring? I mean, there's no mind-blowing, life-changing stories. There's really nothing. But the truth is, no, I will say a story I heard recently. Michal Schnitzer, who was a world-renowned singer, was recently nifter, and there's a story going around about him that he once went to the hospital with a friend, and he was going to go sing and visit patients, and he came to a patient, took a little plastic chair, whatever it was, sat down. He starts singing, and they're into it, passively. You can tell they're not so up to it. All of a sudden, and Michal was a big guy, all of a sudden the chair collapses, cracks. The room goes silent, and then everybody cracks up. Everybody's laughing. Michal walks out, thank you, whatever, it's been an honor, this, that. He walks out, he turned to his friend, he's get a couple of chairs, I'm going to crack them, I'm going to tape it, I'm going to repeat the same thing for everybody else we're going to visit today. And he did. And the lesson he shared from that, which I connect and relate very much, is that you never know what your topic is going to be. You can't control your surroundings. He thought he was a singer, he was going to go sing for people. Next thing he knew, he's busy falling on the floor and cracking chairs, and everybody's laughing from that. You don't know who you're going to inspire. You don't know how you're going to inspire them. But just be yourself. Be authentic. And Hashem will work everything out after.
Wow. This has been very inspiring for me as your friend. I'm very proud of you for doing this because let's be honest, we were talking about doing this for a very long time.
100%.
A very long time.
Listen, we're two busy guys,
We're very busy, but also, no, we were talking before, I know that this is a struggle for you to just come out here and come on camera, and I'm proud of you. I think I'm going to keep this in. I think you did a really good job. I do so many of these, and there's always different ways to be inspired, but I'm really, really inspired from this conversation. So thank you.
I appreciate it. And listen, like you said, I'm naturally, when I'm in a place where I don't know anybody, I'm the quietest guy in the room. But when I'm with my chavra, I'm definitely the loudest. But listen, if you see me in the street, come over, say hello. I love meeting new people, and that's how I connect, and that's how I grow. And I really hope people can take this message and just see, everybody has struggles just like everybody else, and it's okay to have struggles. It's okay to ask for help, but you just have to be authentic. You have to be yourself.
I love that. Okay, if someone wants to reach out to you, whether it's music related or band related or work related or shidduch related, where's the best place people could find you?
I mean, I'm on social media. It's not that hard to find me.
Okay.
Just type in my name. You'll relatively find me sooner. You might find me on the commercial real estate side of things because I do that full time nowadays. But yeah, Baruch Hashem, I'm hard. As small as I am not hard to miss.
Okay, very good, Yehuda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to this week's episode. And if you got this far in the episode, I thank you. And I want you to use the code word brilliant. That's what I want you to use. Code word brilliant. It's a little longer than joy, but I'm confident that you will spell it. I'm going to be looking to see who's spelling it correctly and incorrectly, but with spell check these days, you'll be good. So go ahead and drop the code word brilliant so I know that you got to the very, very end of this week's episode. And I'm just very proud of Yehuda for coming on. And I know him personally, and it was always a question and conversation. For me, I knew we were going to do this. It's just a question of when and when he feels comfortable doing this. Like I said in the episode, it is a catch-22. Like, he wants to be there and he knows he goes through challenges, and that's very obvious. But at the same time, he's just a regular guy. So it's like, you know what? I'm proud that he actually came here, sat down, answered the questions, as uncomfortable as it may have made him feel. But yeah, Yehuda is definitely larger than life, and that I say that with all my heart. Now, if you've been enjoying these episodes, you are part of the Living L'Chaim family. You have seen us grow week after week. We are here to give you the best, most fantastic, awesome people in the world to talk to. So if you have any suggestions for us, don't text me. Go ahead to livingl'chaim.com/suggestions or suggest, so I could go ahead and see the form there. Otherwise, I just get so bombarded. If you enjoyed this episode, if you know Yehuda personally, go ahead and share this episode with someone that you know that will get chizuk, will gain knowledge, will get inspired from this week's episode. We have so many incredible, very interesting people coming up that really make you think about your life. So go ahead and subscribe if you have not yet. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a comment by the review, and go ahead and do something that makes other people feel inspired. L'chaim. Living L'chaim.